Today, dear chess fans, a wonderful online event concluded, the Lindores Abbey Rapid Challenge. It featured some of the world's best players and a thrilling final match. Daniil Dubov versus Hikaru Nakamura. It went to a best of 3, and it actually went to the final game, an armageddon game, where Hikaru Nakamura elected to play the black pieces, start with 4 minutes versus white's 5, but like in all Armageddon games, a draw means that black wins the game. Let's see what happened, and we'll also talk a little bit about the match in general. Hikaru did win the first mini-match in convincing fashion. Dubov fought back brilliantly on the second day, leveling the score at 1-1, maybe taking advantage of Hikaru's kind of pushiness and maybe overconfidence in some moments, and it all came down to today and the next set of moves. Dubov with the white pieces played e4, and Hikaru responded with the standard e5, but here Dubov already went for something unique, a Vienna system with g3, bishop g2. Kind of gets a King's Indian feel to it after the next few moves. Bishop c5, bishop g2, knight f6, knight e2, d6, d3, and a6. All these moves are flexible moves for the black position to then transfer his pieces back if they ever get targeted. Castles, bishop e6, h3. Now what's interesting about this position with the white pieces is Hikaru had something very similar at the end of last year at the World Rapid and Blitz Championships against Timur Gareev, a person that he's played many times in the US Championship. And in that game, Hikaru launched into the center with knight d5. But remember, Hikaru had the white pieces. Now Hikaru's on the other side. And here, Hikaru actually plays a move which looks very natural. He plays h6, and this move is designed, obviously, to stop the pin. But he was critical of this move, and this decision in particular, and this just shows you the complexity of chess at the highest of levels. h6 is an inaccuracy, and it's not so clear why. And the point is that after white's last move h3, he's actually trying to bring his king to h2 and play f4, getting out of the pin. It looks like h3 is to prevent something from coming to g4. That's usually why you play the move h3. But in these Vienna positions with the knight on e2, you have f4 in the future, and this is white's plan. What black is supposed to do here, according to theory, is black is supposed to play queen d7, king h2, and h5, and begin active operations on this side of the board. So Hikaru was critical of himself in the post-match interview of this move h6, and then here decided to play d5, which has been played before, but it breaks a very important opening principle that when you're not castled, you should avoid potentially opening up the center of the board. It might look like it's okay, and obviously, things are a blur and things are random in a blitz game, so I can't say something crazy like Hikaru doesn't adhere to basic principles. But, he played the move which he thought was best, he played the move that made sense, and actually in many ways does complement this move, because bishop g5 no longer works and no longer pressures the center. But after ed5, knight d5, Dubov played a great move. He plays f4, shredding open the position. When you're castled and you're all developed and they're not, they're a move away from castling. Try to create trades that are advantageous to you in the center, maybe with pieces, maybe with pawns. E takes f4, bishop takes d5, the in-between move, trying to get a position where knight is coming here, queen is coming out, and these bishops are going to be targets, and again, you're not letting black castle. Here, the correct way to play for black was fg3, knight g3, then take. Because then if queen h5, the knight comes back to e7, this is guarded, and black is okay, but it's still very dangerous. There's some wild lines here, like, this trade, and then the rook comes to f5, and if black castles, there's c4, just picking up a bishop, but black has some way to create some counterplay. So it's not so clear-cut. But Hikaru did the natural recapture, and actually this position is already busted for black. But watch as Hikaru scrambles to his defenses. He doesn't go down right away. It's lost because after queen h5, there is no convenient way to defend both bishops and the king. So c6, knight d5, takes, knight e6, and we see devastation. Queen f7, knight g7, knight d8, knight c5. Black's position is falling apart. So let's see how Hikaru holds it all together, or does his best to do so. Queen d6. So first order of business, chucking this pawn but allowing the king to be safe here and defending the bishop. Dubov plays this, and grabs both pawns. Now Hikaru looks to simplify, given the fact that he's obviously down some material. Bishop f4, I should say he's down some material, but he's under attack. And trading pieces when you're under such severe pressure can be advantageous. Trading when you're losing by material, not always advantageous. Rook f7, bishop d6, he chucks the queen and he gets to this position. Now, how do you play a position like this one? Okay? The material balance is basically queen and some pawns for rook and bishop. So when you have the queen, you actually want to maybe sometimes trade a piece or two of your opponents that's essential to their position. So you would love to trade this bishop for this knight, for example. And when you're playing without the queen, and you have rook and bishop, for example, what you want to do is consolidate in a manner where all your pieces coordinate and you can defend all sides of the board, because the queen is super mobile. The queen's going to go to the queen side and the king side, right? In one move, potentially. But I should also say that the queen also can be used in brilliant attacking ways, and here Dubov had a forced win. So check, the king has to go to this side of the board, and for example, if king c7, knight e6 check, the king moves away, and queen d4. And you simply fork the rooks. It just shows you the pure power of the queen. The rook doesn't even need to get involved. And now, if the king had gone to c6, for example, then queen a4 check is the killer. And once again, the king gets caught in this little loop. Obviously, b5, there's queen a6. This move, there's queen d4, and all sorts of attacking possibilities here. Not to mention this move, which just, it just destroys the black position. So, anyway, that aside, let's see what happens. Rook f8, queen g4, king c6, knight e6, attacking the rook. Hikaru plays rook f6. Notice how Hikaru's coordinating all his forces. Knight check, and the king runs away. Rook e2, rook f1, king g2, and knight c6. This is the trade Hikaru wants. Because in getting this trade, he kind of holds all the pawns together. Of course, his position is still practically lost, but if you're trying to hold an Armageddon game for a $70,000 first prize, or whatever the prize fund was, this is how you do it. Dubov, though, plays where he's stronger. He has a pawn majority on the queen side, plays c3, trying to go for b4 and create some problems for the black king. Rook f5, there's not much you can do. b4, king b7, now he invades and picks up this pawn. Why Hikaru gave this pawn away? Well, if he plays king b6, once again, he just plays into this initiative. You cannot play moves like bishop b4, rook b2 comes, and a3 is simply coming, and you're not going to be able to defend your king with just a lone bishop. So after queen g7, rook f7, the h6 pawn was lost, and once the h6 pawn is lost, you're down 3 pawns, and that's a substantial advantage. Let's see how Dubov cleaned up. Bishop c7, queen e3, bishop b6, d4, blocking the bishop out. Bishop goes back, h4. Now he's strong on both sides, so he plays on both sides of the board. a5, trying to create a little counterplay, a little counterintuitive potentially, because the king is on that side of the board, but Dubov doesn't even flinch, and immediately plays the correct pawn break with b5 and shattering this, and, well, just a few more moves to go. Rook f6, takes on c6, queen a6 check, bishop b6, and he wins yet another pawn, a 4-pawn advantage with no obvious weaknesses in the white position. King b7, invades with the queen, gives a check, drops the queen back, and ends the game on a nice tactical flair, rook c7 check. And if the king takes, of course there is queen c5, picking up the rook on f8. Even if white was not going to get that rook and play something like queen d5, queen versus 2 rooks, but 5 extra pawns is obviously winning. The queen is a super powerful piece, defending against a queen with a backup, with material imbalance. I tried to give you a little bit of insight on how to do it. Trade off some of the aggressive attacking pieces like Hikaru did. Try to formalize your defenses, but even then, sometimes it's not going to be enough. And after rook takes c7, Hikaru resigned and crowned Dubov the Lindores Abbey Rapid Challenge champion. Dubov gave a very funny interview afterward, and Hikaru did join his channel along with Alexandra and Robert Hess to give his thoughts, saying that in the beginning, this h6 it was really the problem for him, and from there the position kind of went downhill. It's amazing that a move so natural looking could be such an issue, but it was indeed. And for that reason, ever since then, Dubov, I should say, was able to develop a very strong initiative. hope you enjoyed. Hope you enjoyed this event from Chess.24 and the Magnus Carlsen Tour and the coverage wherever you got it. Hikaru will be back playing in some other events in the future. Congratulations for now to Dubov, and you can check out some of our other videos here beside me somewhere on the screen. Take care, everybody. Enjoy. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next Game of the Day recap.